Oh, I'm on. Surprise! Good evening. It's Saturday evening, the 9th of May. I'm being kind of quiet because my neighbors next door are having a little get together. Really nice kids, just sweet people. Um, but I have the fan on and it goes out, so I don't want my voice carrying. I mean, I'm sure they don't need to hear a sermon. So, hope you're all doing well. Today was hot. It was really hot, muggy. I looked at the thermostat a while ago, and it's now almost 9 o'clock, and it was 78 degrees. So, bleh. I think Humpy has snuck out of the house because it's just too bloody hot for him. But such is life. Happy Mother's Day to all you mothers out there, and best wishes to our mothers who have gone on. And hope you are all on this or that side doing well and growing and proceeding. Today is the fifth, or tomorrow is the fifth Sunday of Easter. As we continue the journey, now we're getting towards the journey towards Pentecost. So why don't I read the Gospel, if I can figure out where it is on here. There I found it. It's the Gospel according to John, the 14th chapter, verses 1 through 14. Jesus said, "Do not let your hearts be troubled. Believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house there are many dwelling places. If it were not so, would I have told you that I go to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and will take you to myself, so that where I am, there you may also be. And you know the way to the place I am going." Thomas said to him, "Lord, we do not know where you're going. How can we know the way?" Jesus said to him, "I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you know me, you will know my Father also. From now on, you do know him and have seen him." Philip said to him, "Lord, show us the Father, and we will be satisfied." Jesus said to him, "Have I been with you all this time, Philip, and you still do not know me? Whoever has seen me has seen the Father. How can you say, 'Show us the Father'? Do you not believe that I am in the Father, and the Father is in me? The words that I say to you I do not speak on my own, but the Father who dwells in me does his works. Believe me that I am in the Father, and the Father is in me. But if you do not, then believe me because of the works themselves. Very truly I tell you, the one who believes in me will also do the works that I do, and in fact will do greater works than these, because I am going to the Father. I will do whatever you ask in my name, so that the Father may be glorified in the Son. If in any name you ask me for anything, I will do it." There's some interesting context to this gospel reading. It's a reading frequently read at funerals, up to "No one comes to the Father except through me," which I usually leave out at funerals. I think that's going a little too far. And plus, one has to understand the context of the Gospel of John, and leaving it out now in our day makes perfect sense. John's Gospel is written at the very end of the first or beginning of the second century, after the death of the blessed apostle himself in Ephesus. And this is a period in church history where there were a lot of bizarre Christian sects. We wind up calling them Gnostic sects. It's water, it's not my quarantini, thank you. There'd be an olive if it was. But these bizarre sects were in competition with not just the church in Ephesus, but all over the world, or the known world at that time. And they didn't get along at all. And so after John's death and the writing of the gospel basically by committee, they had to put some stuff in there that said, we're the real Christians. Not those weird Gnostic people, but we're the real Christians. And so you wind up getting this placed in there, into the text. Much of what John reports as Jesus saying may have kernels of actual Jesus' actual words in them. But, through 70 to 80 years of preaching on all of this, John has, he's come up with his own version. And that's why we have it, because it's a beautiful version. But I think the important thing to take away from this is Jesus saying, I am the way and the truth and the life. If anyone wants to be with God, you have to go through me. Now, the risen Christ is a universal figure. I mean, yes, it's Jesus of Nazareth, but it is so much more. So it just doesn't apply to us Christians, it applies to the world. And it's an invitation, it's not exclusionary. It's Jesus saying, here are my open arms. If you need to see who God is, I am the way. In our own time, we realize so many of the other great sages said many of the same things Jesus said. They were never who he was, but they all went in the right direction, in the same direction. The concept of loving your neighbor, don't retaliate, be compassionate, love your enemies. And these seem like, they're nice little cliche things. They're what make the world tick. They're what make the universe tick. I was thinking earlier about going on with I am the way and the truth and the life, and kind of stretching that out, and I realized I would be insulting your intelligence. You guys know this stuff. I'm preaching to the choir, okay? And you all have figured out that the Christian faith is more than just believing, as in reciting a creed or having some sort of doctrinal tenet that you just can't let go of. You've all figured out that following on the way in the truth to the life is about how we live. The Christian faith is not a religion. It's a lifestyle. And yeah, it has religious overtones. We have rituals and processions and sacraments and all that, doctrines and creeds and all that stuff. But the bottom line for Jesus, who is our way, is the truth of love. And that love is what gives us life. Sorry to tell you what you already know, right? The interesting thing is that the last week or so, as I've been talking to you guys and also, some of my friends who are either other members of the clergy, which is always a dubious group, or some of my friends who are, good devout atheist agnostics, or although the one Buddhist is really kind of cool, But the thing that I keep that seems to come up, there's this thread that runs through conversations, is we're finding this time to start to be an emotional time. It's like the old days when my mother would never let me watch AT&T commercials where, the kid calls his mother on Mother's Day, and because I would sit there and just sob because I thought it was so lovely. And I grew up to be, a typical man. Well, in most senses. But at least I am finding right now, and for me, it's all based in this concept of Jesus being the way, the truth, and the life, because that leads to so much hope and so much joy in the midst of severe darkness, in the midst of death. And I sit and I read things that get me all, reaching. I don't boo-hoo, but I get all watery. When I got the email this week from Tracy about Dominic not being well, that was an emotional moment. I wasn't expecting it. I think all of our emotions, I can only speak for myself, but I'm suspecting you guys might be in the same situation. Our emotions now are really at the surface. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Because that's who we really are. All of our facades are falling away. And we're having to see ourselves and each other as you women say, or as a couple of drag queen friends of mine say, without the makeup. And this whole time in our lives of quarantine and death, yeah, there's some crappy stuff coming out of it. As I've been saying on sermons, watch the news. There's also some remarkable stuff. Some wonderful things. People taking care of each other like they've never done before. Outside just the fantastic medical people who are putting their lives on the line. And as time is going on, I'm realizing that the way we are supposed to follow Jesus is by being authentic and real and taking off the makeup and being our true selves. Because that is who God made us as. And in that, I'm finding life. And I bet you are too. Life right now is not all doom and gloom. There is a lot of that. No denying it. There is pain. There is suffering. There is our separation from each other. I've been having this conversation on the email with Father Bob about how even though we celebrate Zoom Mass and it works on a theological level, on a sacramental level, but, Mr. Computer does this all the time, but we're not able to be community as we are used to hold each other, to care for each other, to hug each other at the peace, to share bread and wine that we give to each other, one hand to the other. Yeah, there's a lot of really crappy stuff in this. And I acknowledge that for you, and I acknowledge that for me. But the thing I'm coming to realize is that what's getting us through this, and I think getting people of any faith We're people of goodwill. I know some good, devout atheists who are much better Christians than some Christians I know. What's getting us through this is following Jesus on the way. However one wants to define that, but for us Christians, it's following Jesus by living his compassion, by knowing his truth, because that truth gives us life. At the beginning of the gospel, Jesus says, he talks about in his Father's house there are many mansions. And I always interpret that, at least for myself, that whatever comes after this life is a foregone conclusion. God has already figured that out. And there's room for everybody. I mean, we're talking one huge condo. But that also applies to now. There are many dwelling places. There's room for everybody. There is the community that we are called to be. Not just us as a parish, or us as a denomination, or as Christians in general, but we are called to be a community of human beings dwelling on this planet as one single unit. And the way we're going to survive this, let me rephrase that. The way we are surviving this is walking the way by being true to ourselves and to each other and to God. And in that, we're being given life. Life in the midst of darkness and fear and isolation and all that stuff. I guess what I'm trying to say, bottom line, is there's a whole lot of hope here. God keeps coming into this mess and saying, I'm here, I'm not going anywhere. If you just take my hand, we'll get through this. And you all, as in all 9 billion of us, will come out the other side just a bit more honed into the image of the one whose hand we hold. That's the hope. That's the way we are called to walk. That is the truth we are called to speak to each other, and especially to those who abuse power. And in the end, life is not going to return to the way it used to be. It will be different. It may look a lot like what we have had in our past, just weeks, months ago. But if we keep following on the way, listening and being the truth, life on the other side will be much more honest and real, and God will have led us there. That's what our hope is. So keep on hoping. Keep on walking that way. Keep on being true to you, and I'm telling that to me too. Keep experiencing the life that God promises us if we just reach out our hand And it's not a conditional thing. I mean, the hand is there. It's just sometimes we have to get it together and go, thank you, I'm here. And in the end, all will be well. To quote St. Julian of Norwich, who we celebrated today at daily prayer. All will be well. I guess that's all I have to say. That was probably way more than you needed anyway. Keep well. Keep in touch with each other as best you can. And keep waiting for that day. Whether it's in church or not is irrelevant. When we can all walk up to each other and embrace each other and share the peace of Christ with each other. When we can share our tenderness and our love for everyone that we know and care about, whether they be Christian or not, because in the long run, and at least in God's eyes, it doesn't mean that much of a difference. Keep hoping. Keep it alive, because love always wins. Hope to see you at Mass in the morning. The details were sent out earlier today. The link to Zoom and the link to the liturgy that you can either, it's a PDF, so you can either use it on your computer or you can print it out. And I wish you a lovely and possibly cool evening. It is hotter than that place in the creed we don't believe in here tonight, which is why I think Humpy has snuck out. That says at 1 a.m. Anyway, talk to you soon. Be well. Keep on. Peace.